Hello everybody, welcome back to Dominions 5. We are starting a new series today, and before we get into the details of that series, let me say it's good to be back. I am sorry I was not able to record or upload much in the last few months. I was traveling a lot and I moved a couple of times. Hopefully I'll be able to get back on track. I still continued playing most of those games, all of those games, in fact, that I was in, and started some new ones. So I hope that I can get a few of those series finished for those that I had already started uploading. And there's more that I had half recorded that I'm hoping I'll be able to record in the future. Now, I am starting off with this new series because this is a special series. I was invited to sub into the current Dominions 5 YouTuber series. One of the players could not continue to play, and so I am jumping into that series as Utgard, LA Utgard. Now, this game has been going on, I think, for a couple of months. I joined it in late August, and I wasn't able to start recording until now in October. But so there are about, I've played about, I guess, 6 or 7 turns already. And yeah, I'm looking forward to starting this series with you guys. So normally at the beginning of a game, I would do a sort of nation overview. And why not to do that? Because we have to talk about the nation we'll be playing, which is LA Utgard. Now, of course, I didn't actually get to design the pretender or anything, so I'll just have to show you what we have to work with. So this game is in LA. I'm assuming that most of you are familiar with this series from having watched the videos from the other YouTubers who are much more popular than I am. I know Das Tactic is playing in this, Lucid, and many others. And of course, there'll be links in the description to all of their playlists. But just in case you just knew about my videos, then I strongly encourage you to go look at all those other amazing YouTubers that do great content, most of which is far superior than what I put out. So anyways, let's get into this. This is LA Utgard. It is one of the only giant nations left in LA, which makes it kind of stand out. It's not, so this is kind of like Niflheim. It's the cold giants. So let's look at these troops here. Well, actually, I guess let's look at the nation first. So it's just cold scales. And other than that, it's pretty average in a lot of ways. So we've got a couple of human-sized chaffy troops. These would be good in early age or middle age. In late age, they're pretty underwhelming because everything tends to have a fairly high protection. But they're decent chaff that are size 2, which is important because they fit in between your size 4 giants. So do skeletons, by the way. So yeah, these you only have 1 per square, but if you combine them with regular human troops, you can kind of fill out the empty spaces. Then I'm not even going to bother. I mean, I'll randomly click on some of these guys, but these are all kind of chaffy giants. Of course, one-on-one, they're great against regular troops. The fact that they're giants, especially these axe guys, for example, means that in late age, they actually do chomp through chaff, but it's only 1 attack per square is the issue, right? So they just don't get used that much, and also they're pretty expensive, right? They're still, like, this one is only 21 gold. This one, a whopping 41 resources. Now, this is a pretty beefy unit, but, you know, there's nothing magical here. High protection, yeah, I guess. A lot of hit points, but not sacred. So a lot of this chaff is not really useful, in my opinion. The javelin giants would be fun, but there's only 2 ammunition. And then they have an axe. This would be the one that I would make if I were going to make some chaff giants. And you also have these hurlers, which give a siege bonus, I guess, if you really wanted to. But your units have tons of strength anyways. You're probably not going to need the extra siege bonus. And the boulder only has 2 ammunition and a range of 6. So yeah, not great. However, we do have sacreds. We have sacred giants, the Garmherdings. They are sort of naked giants, just 12 protection because they're wearing furs. But they have a battle axe that does 36 damage, and they are berserkers. and 32 hit points. So you can definitely make a giant bless with this nation, which is in fact what we have going. Let's look at the commanders. We've got a random scout. We have the Jotun Scout, which is fun because it is sacred. So if you give him like a blessy bottle thing, whatever that item is called, they're actually pretty efficient. If you have a nice bless, they're kind of good mini thugs for raiding. So very cheap. So that's fun. We have a human commander whose leadership 60, so not amazing. There's a human priest, an H1 priest, I guess if you really needed an H1 priest for cheap. We have a giant commander who has leadership 60. So again, you want leadership 80 for the extra morale check. So kind of forgettable. Here's our leadership. Here is our leadership 80 guy, who's also an H1 priest, so he can bless himself and would be a kind of decent-ish thug, I guess. Mainly he's there to have high leadership, so at least he won't die to a stray arrow because he's a giant. We have an H2 priest, which is always nice. This is the most, there are no H3s in this nation. So it's good to have H2s because we are probably, often you're going to do a giant bless kind of strategy and you want to be able to get all your giants in your bless cast. So having an H2 covers more ground. They're not as good leaders as the others, but you can still move troops around with them. So anyways, this is a good priest. We'll need a few of these guys to bless our dudes. Then let's talk about mages. So we have the Recruit Anywhere cheap researcher. This is actually a decent researcher. 85 gold for 11 research is reasonable. And it happens to be a fortune teller, so that can offset taking misfortune scales. And the paths are pretty good. This nation has Astral, Death, Nature, and you also have Water and Blood on another unit. But these three paths together is really not bad. So Astral is just great for communions in general, and they're kind of cheap enough, so you can, and you're going to have a ton of these guys because you're recruiting them for research. So you have plenty of fodder for communions. Astral Death has great evocation magic. And then in general, Death and Nature and Astral all have really good battlefield buff spells. Now, we're weak in Nature, but we can communion it, so we are pretty covered in terms of most battlefield spells that we would want. The only thing we're missing is Earth, really, with this nation. So this is a really nice mage unit to have. The cap-only mage is just a stronger version. She's unfortunately old, but gets 2 Astral, 2 Death, and then can random into Blood or a bit of extra stuff. So this is good because having 2 Astral, you have some randoms that are going to be 3s, but even with a few boosters, these guys can Mine Hunt. Really, they could do all sorts of stuff. And if you're lucky to have an N2, then maybe that can cover your nature buffs for your battle. So, great paths. And then, last but certainly not least, we have the Scrati, who are Water and Blood. So this is our Blood access. So this is sort of a minor Blood nation, although there's a unique Blood spell, which I'll talk about later. I say they're minor Blood because only these slow-to-recruit guys can do your Blood searching, but you want to recruit these anyways because they're amazing thugs. They shapeshift into werewolves, which increases their hit points, gives them built-in regeneration. It halves their magic paths, but you still have Water 1, so you can do quickness and then just go to town. So these are great thugs. A lot of fun. And also you have good paths if you needed Water and Blood for your casts in battle. So a pretty nice roster, I would say. Now, it depends who you're up against and what you're fighting, but definitely a nice, there's a lot of options. The spell, by the way, is, well, let's just go here. The spell, by the way, is in Blood Magic. You have Illwinter, the namesake of the company that makes Dominions 5. Illwinter is kind of a screw you global that pushes cold into every Dominion and then causes random attacks. And it's not too deep. It's only Blood 6 for 120 gems. So you have to be, and this would have to be cast by one of those Scrati. So that can be a that's like a fun, once you feel strong enough that you can, or diplomatically strong enough that you can withstand all the attacks, this is a great spell to put up to screw everybody over. We have a few unique spells in Conjuration. You get bears. We've got some Draugr. We've got some, the Draugr. These are like big undead giants, basically. I'm not sure if we'll be using a lot of these summons. As far as I recall, they're not amazing. The nature ones, especially, we need the nature gems for Vine Shields and stuff like that for the Scrotty, so we're unlikely to use those. So I did not design the Pretender for this, but this is what we have that was given to us. We have a monolith with a giant bless, and the giant bless is Fortitude, Regeneration, and Magic Weapon and Resistance. So it looks something like this. Magic Weapons, I'm pretty sure it's Major, Fortitude, and Regeneration. And it was either Awake or Dormant, and we, sort of half decent scales. Obviously, we trashed Cold. I think we trashed Misfortune, probably. I don't know. I don't know the details of this. It's not important. This is the bless that we have this game, which is quite reasonable. Fortitude is... It's not what I would have picked, but it's quite reasonable. Obviously, Regeneration is an obvious choice for Giants, and Magic Weapons is a great choice as well, just to make sure that those big attacks get through any sort of clever surprises they're trying to pull. Fortitude is nice against... It makes them very tanky against Chaff. It doesn't... Against many special kinds of troops or attacks, it's not going to help that much. It's not bad. It's definitely interesting. Maybe what I would have preferred might have been something like, instead of Fortitude, get Blood Bond. Regeneration Blood Bond is like the ultimate tanky screw you bless for Giants. And less Earth, maybe like Reinvig. You can even get Strength here if you wanted to, or something like that. And there's a couple of reasons for that. There's a lot of, we're a Death Nation and we have some nature, so you can do... all right, let me back up. So I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I definitely want to throw this out there. So Giants in general are weak to... a lot of little units, and especially a lot of weak double-wielding units or quickness or whatever, right? Because they get attacked by many squares per turn. So you need them to be tough enough to survive those attacks, and you need to find a way to get rid of the little units. And one of the ways you can do that is fatigue. And if you're going to throw out Rigor Mortis, then you want to have Reinvig on your Sacreds so that your guys don't fatigue out. So anyways, this might have been what I would have gone for, or maybe not. I didn't put a lot of thought into this. I'm saying if I had gone for a monolith, right? There may be some other options, but it doesn't matter because we already have, the game has been set up already, and we got to take what we were given. So anyways, that is a very, very quick overview of the nation. This is probably going to be a long episode because we're just getting into it into the middle of the game. So I want to load up the first turn right away. So I joined in on turn 21. Now I had this turn I did this turn on another computer. So this is just the turn with no orders. This is the first thing that I saw. So let's get right into it. Let's look at the map and let's talk about the game settings and our neighbors and diplomacy and whatnot. So here we are. This is our map. So the first thing, okay, let's talk about who we're playing against. I guess that's the most important thing. So Pretenders of the World. We have LA Pythium. LA Pythium, we'll do a very quick overview for these nations. They have the Sacred Hydras, which are sort of very interesting. Sometimes you can go for a bless on these guys. And then they just have like a random mix of all the paths. So kind of an interesting nation. And they have easy access to communions. They have these units that are automatic communion slaves or something like that. anyways, we have LA Man. LA Man is a really fun nation. I feel it's quite strong. Very strong conventional units, crossbows, heavy infantry, and also good mages with the communions, these and air magic. So these are recruit anywhere. Air to Earth Astral with randoms. Very very nice nation in general. We have LA Ulm. Very powerful nation, blood nation with unique vampires that are kind of cheaper to make, free spawn wolves, the Ulm evocations, so really, really strong. And they have like super cheap crossbows. Anyways, great. Also a very, very powerful nation. We have LA Micklin. I didn't know much about LA Micklin until playing this game. They look a lot like the other Micklins, which is to say a lot of different sacreds that are not wearing a lot of stuff and that are just asking for an insane bliss, which apparently is exactly what Lucid Tactics, who's the player who's playing LA Micklin, has gone for. So he has like some kind of like a quickness plus luck, the one that means you don't die when you die. So which is a great bless for, and Blood Search obviously or something like that, which is a great bless for these guys. Because also when these guys finally die, they actually die and become jaguars, which have like 2 or 3 attacks per turn, so plus the quickness. Anyways, really awful. Really nasty stuff. So that's Micklin. Good times. We have LA Cetis. This is similar to the other ages of Cetis. No ranged units, a lot of lizards. Not really good sacreds, but pretty powerful mages, very strong death magic. They also have a bit of fire in this age. And also they have good priests. They have H3s and good leadership. And in addition, their priests can reanimate dead in late age. So expect a lot of undead from them. Then we have Pangea. LA Pangea is kind of... just like Pangea is always a kind of weak nation in terms of its troops, because they're centaurs. Here they're having a hard time adapting to late age. I don't think, looking at him, he's not using a lot of these sacreds, which are kind of forgettable in late age. Like just a hoplite is not an amazing thing. You've got these trampling minotaurs. And you have the Pans, who are these amazing nature and earth mages. But other than that, yeah, they have Astral here, I think. So they have Astral, but they can't, I mean, unless you forge items here, you can't communion up these guys. So anyways, Pangea. And we have, last but not least, we have Midgard, which is another cold nation, but these guys have sacred cavalry with glamour. So an elf nation, glamour cavalry, which do invisible raids and are a pain to deal with. These guys have air to buff themselves. Yeah. So just looking at these opponents, already we're seeing a lot of troops that can really take on giants really well. So, for example, dual-wielding berserking troops is exactly what you want to use against giants. Hopefully, we're not fighting Midgard too soon. Then again, Midgard might be tempted to just make cavalry. Although these 2 attacks per turn might also be good against the giants, but you can't make as many of them, and they'll actually get popped by the magic weapons on our dudes. So anyways, that is who we're playing against. If we look at who our neighbors actually are, we neighbor Micklin and Midgard down here, and apparently over here, I guess he sailed across the ocean here and took this. And then we have Pangea over here to the east. Now, another very important detail is the thrones. So this game has 18 throne points and only 7 needed to win. So this is a very weird setup. And also, by the way, research is like a double speed. So this is intended, I believe, to be quite a fast game, but 7 is really low. And you can see Midgard just recently has been trying to do some kind of throne rush. He's already got 4. So that's a really strange setup, I find, but it definitely changes the dynamic of the game. There's no doubt about that. So yeah, so just looking at our neighbors, there's a throne here which is currently controlled by Pangaea. We've got a throne up here that's controlled by Midgard. We don't have any thrones. This throne is somehow still unclaimed. And then there's an underwater throne here, which is kind of a pain to get to. So yeah, that's what's going on in our immediate neighborhood. So in this game, we are not using any diplomacy other than in-game messaging. So there's a lot of diplomacy, but it has to go through in-game messages, which makes diplomacy very slow and cumbersome, and makes it very challenging. So now, because I'm just joining in late, people have agreed to communicate with me outside the game just for this turn to get me up to speed with what's going on. However, as I was playing this turn, I had not yet received any communication from many of the players. So I don't know currently, is Pangaea getting ready to attack me? Although it kind of looks like maybe they're getting ready for war with Cetis. I don't know, but it's kind of worrisome, and I don't have anybody defending these these castles over here. What I do know is that there was an attempt to have some kind of coalition to fight against Miklin. And in fact, I can show you one of these messages from Man. Das Tactic is playing as Man. And so I'm not going to read it all out loud, but you guys can pause and read it. But apparently there was some coalition with Ulm, ourselves, Midgard, and Man to try to take out Miklin early on, because and I understand that it was Men who was trying to make this happen because they were really scared of Miklin's crazy bliss. So fair enough. However, it appears that the coalition is kind of falling apart, and Ulm and Midgard attacked Ulm, and I think Midgard was trying to do some kind of throne rush. So apparently there's been some infighting, and that's kind of falling apart. I believe that this player has staled for at least 2 turns. There's at least 1 turn stale here, but we have like 5,000 gold built up. So I'm guessing there have been about 2 turns of stales. So I asked, did I have any agreements with anybody else? Because I didn't want to break a nap that the previous player had signed. But there did not appear to be any sort of engagements made. So I have, so as far as attacking Miklin, continuing that war for what it's worth. So Miklin has that super scary bliss, and it's been reported to me that there was a fairly big battle between Utgard and Miklin a few turns ago, a battle that Utgard mostly lost, which doesn't surprise me too much, because these giants, like they are not a great counter to Miklin's units. In order to take them on, I need some special battlefield magic, and that is going to be enchantment. So this is what we have researched so far, but what we need is enchantment 6, which will give us rigor mortis and relief. And that combination is, I don't feel comfortable going into battle against Miklin without that. Should I choose to do that. And in fact, we could even throw Grip of Winter in there. That would heavily fatigue their units, and I suspect my giants would be able to live through the initial assault. At least I would hope so. And then we just fatigue them down, and that's how we would win, basically. Maybe combine that with some Skelespam or something like that. So anyway, so that's what we're hoping for. So I don't want to get involved in a war right now. To me, it's not hitting at the right time. I need some key magic before we do that. So you're not going to see the orders that I'm doing for this turn, but we're redirecting our research towards enchantment 6. Now, we have already researched Conjuration. I guess this was on automatic research after the stales happened. So we've got Construction 4. We have Alteration 5. I'm not sure why we went to Alteration 5 before. I'm honestly not sure. Like, there's nothing here. Like, we don't do any like wooden warriors. What, enfeeble? Like, I'm not sure why we got this. Later on, we could use, you know, I mean, we're going to communion up in death, but you don't want to do darkness. Maybe we would have doom, and obviously mass protection is something we could do. But I'm really not sure what the why we went up to alteration 5 here. That, to me, that's a bit. I mean, I guess it could have been thinking to get Mother Oak early with our Pretender. Actually, yeah, maybe that was the thought. But we kind of don't have good nature income, so that's not going to happen. I wish we had gotten into evocation, actually, because so remember, we have astral, death, cross paths, which gives us access to these amazing spells. Netherbolt at level 4 in evocation, which is a nice range, good precision, a bit of AoE, not high fatigue, 20 magic damage plus armor piercing and area feeble mind. Like, what an amazing spell. And then at level 7, you get a super version of them, Nether Darts, which has 15 plus effects with area feeble mind. So this is a great, great spell, and I hope to be able to use it later on in the game. However, first, yeah, we're going to get enchantment 6, and we'll take it from there. Later on, we do want to get blood up to cast Illwinter. We'll see. A lot of things that we want to do. If we take a quick look around and see what's the status of our troops, we've got, I guess, a fair number of researchers here. Already, this previous player has been thugging out our Scrotty, which are turned into werewolves. So these are, here we go. This is a great cheap thug. Frostbrand, Vine Shield, perfect cheap equipment. Unfortunately, they have low protection, but the Vine Shield helps with that. But they have built-in regen. They're going to self-cast quickness. So this is perfect. So we have a bit of an army here, which I guess makes sense because we were at war, I think, against Mictlan. So we've got some giants here. We've also got a lot of cheap crossbows that we can recruit in many of our castles and indie provinces. So that's really nice to have in the background. Now, and we have some more back here, I guess. Most of the land, a lot of the land has been site searched, but it's been site searched with the little mages instead of with the cat mages. So over the next couple of turns, my initial plans are, first of all, figure out diplomatically what's going on everywhere. Second of all, I do want to finish site searching this my land a bit better, using cat mages if I can, and also grabbing the water and blood Scrotties to site search as well. I want to ensure that we have peace with Mictlan and use this army to come and secure this throne. I believe my initial impression is that we probably need to fight Mictlan because this is outrageous. He shouldn't have this fort, and in a 7 throne point game, you just have to it's much more comfortable if no one player has a lead. So if I took this throne and this throne, depending on which thrones these are, this would be like 2 or 3 points for me, which nobody's going to freak out at. It's pretty average, and it brings Mictlan back into line. So to me, that seems reasonable. We have to figure out if this is a danger to us or if they're just going to fight each other. And we have to start blood hunting. We're going to use it to make items to equip, to put on our Scrotty. And we need to start forging some items. In particular, one of the things that, and as I'm recording this, I've already played a few turns. I want to try putting some Shroud of the Battle Saints on these guys, which gives them our bless. Because they have low protection anyways, so and I don't have like any earth gems to make good armor for these guys. So that will give them double regeneration and fortitude, which will make them even tougher thugs. So that's it for our introduction to this series. We're kind of jumping into the middle of things. I remember for the first few turns, I was quite nervous trying to figure out what the diplomatic situation was, because you never know, you end up in a situation everybody's attacking you. But it looks like Miklin is more concerned with fighting against Ulm, and yeah, this here is what I'm mostly worried about, Pangaea and Cetis. So we'll have to see. So that's it for now. In the next episode, we will look at you'll see the results of my actions for the first turn, which I don't have here because I did them on another computer. Oh, we also need to spend all this money. So obviously we're spending this money by recruiting mages, but also we're going to improve some of these forts. We have 2 forts already that are at 3 commander points. I intend to upgrade some of these other forts as well, so that we can have just more mage recruitment points per turn. And we just happen to have all this money. We need to dump it into something. I think I'm also hiring all these mercenaries and all that good stuff. So we managed to fit most of that information into a first episode at just about 30 minutes. So that's it for now. See you guys in the next episode. Take care.